Welcome to the Applied Workshop, the first one for the semester. I'm Ryan. Today we're going to have Matt Bombick. He's going to be talking about a variety of different tools for research. So let's welcome Matt.
You. All right, so I'm going to be talking about 3 different softwares, and I'm just going to be demoing. I don't have any slides or anything, but I just thought I would kind of like demonstrate how I use these tools and why I think they are good for research efficiency. And then if it seems useful to you, then you can go ahead and use them for your own research needs. And I just have like a million little things I'm going to be talking about, so I don't really know how long it's going to take. I guess we'll see. If you have any questions, curious about anything at any time, just don't hesitate to stop me and ask a question or say something. And also, so these 3 things I'm presenting, these are what I use, but they're like alternative programs that are very similar. So if you have experience with some other program, please share it so that people have a better idea of like what the options are out there. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to be talking about is Onenote. It's like a pretty basic, just note-taking software. And it doesn't, when I first came across it, I guess I was like, this is like folders with Word documents or something, but for whatever reason, it like works way better than that for like note-taking and keeping track of everything, and just it's much more efficient and easier to use, and it just saves a lot of the time like storing everything in like documents and folders. So this is the OneNote app. There's like different versions of it. The default one in Windows now is kind of like a stripped down version. It's like more tailored to touchscreen kind of computers, but you can still download like the classic desktop version, which has more features. So it just has like this basic ribbon, like all the Office apps. And OneNote is organized around notebooks. These are like kind of like just folders, I guess. So like I have a lot of notebooks for different research projects, random stuff, like personal things. But I'm just going to talk about the like research related stuff first. So you have these notebooks. I think you can still store them locally on your computer, but generally they're stored in OneDrive. And so they can sync between all your devices really easily. So you can have like different notebooks and sync them to OneDrive. You can like open certain ones on your computer and like leave the other ones unopened if you want to simplify your computer or whatever. And another thing is you can also create shared notebooks, which are shared with other people using OneNote. So it can be used collaboratively like that. Different people can like add pages, edit pages, and such. I think I've never actually used it collaboratively like that, but I've always thought it would be a great idea to do. And I know that a lot of people do that. Okay. So can you guys see like this pretty well, or should I like increase the size of the font and stuff? All good? So within your notebooks, you have these things, which are called sections, which are basically like subfolders. And then in the sections is different notes, and they're just like listed in a list. Okay. So like I prepared for this presentation in this section, and I have like these different notes that I made. And like made checklists, and I can check these off when they're done. So it's really useful for just like any kind of list like that. There's like, I know tons of list making softwares, but you can easily just do all of that in OneNote too. It has like nice functionality. And if you use it on your mobile device, it has like a nice kind of to-do lists like format where you can just like check things off and they disappear and stuff like that. But on the computer, they don't have that version. They don't have that like view. Okay, so I will often make a notebook like for a research project. So like here's my job market paper. And then I have like this workspace where I just like put stuff that I'm like actively working on. I have like general notes, which has like to-dos and comments from different presentations. Yeah.
How does this work since it's Microsoft? Does it work well for exporting to like, like a PDF or a Word document if you want to send it to like an advisor or a co-author or something?
It does, and I will show you that functionality a little bit. But yeah, you can definitely do that. Okay, so this is just like an example of my research notebook. Just like all different like stages of the research. I have like a separate notebook, and they have like different pages. Okay. So we have the notebook, the sections, and then pages. That's like the extent of the structure. There's no like additional subfolders that you can. And I think like that limitation is one of the things that like one of its strengths prevents you from like getting lost in like this crazy organizational folder structure, something like that. Okay, so then like on top of pages, you can have sub pages. So it's a tiny bit more structure. You can just like I have this robustness like section within my section. Basically, you just like you can just drag your page to the right and it will make it a sub page. And the only thing that does is like you can collapse this to like make it simple, like easier to look at. And you can easily like make this not a sub page anymore, for example. So that's just like the very basic structure of OneNote, and there's not too much, not that much more to it than that. But there's a lot of things you can do within it that make it really useful. Okay, so one thing that's kind of central part of OneNote, I think, is this quick note section. It's not really that different from any other section, but it's just like meant to be the place where you just like whatever comes to your mind, or like just like a immediate like working area. I use it to just like put thoughts and to-dos and whatever in there during the day, and then like at the end of the day or the next day I'll just like clear it out and like sort everything. And it's taken me like, I don't know, a few years to just like improve my workflow within this. So like whatever works for you, you're gonna have to like figure that out. OneNote doesn't like do all that for you, but enables you to like implement your own system that works well for you. So like I have this notebook that I call Quick Notebook, and it has my quick notes and just like to-do lists, immediate to-do lists, like reference stuff. And then I have this like extra section, which is just like random thousands of notes that like I put down at some point and then like didn't have time to do it. So I just like put them in there. So I'm gonna do that later, maybe.
So you mentioned how this kind of syncs across different devices, especially like mobile devices. So for something like a tablet where, you know, you have more of the stylus going, does this work the same? So you could just have like your type text from your laptop and then your stylus notes as well in there in the same sort of document?
Yep, absolutely. And I'll show you an example of that in a little bit. Okay, so on that note, if you've seen like ads on the internet or something for like Microsoft Surface or OneNote, they're all about like handwriting, the pen and stuff. That's kind of one of the things that drew me to it because it seemed really cool, but I've not actually found that to be very useful. I almost always just use the keyboard. I also don't have a touch screen, but I used to have a touch screen and I still didn't really use it that much. With one exception, which is when I was teaching the math review course, and I'll show you some examples of how that worked. I thought it worked pretty well. But yeah, any kind of input that you put in from any device will sync to all the other devices and is editable and such. Okay, so
I look on the sharing feature, so like, I usually send like my advisor an agenda. So I could just make a notebook, share the whole notebook with her and then just put pages.
absolutely. And then she can just like go there and be like, oh, Becca, like a lot of work this week.
That's not the case. Wishful thinking, but okay, right now I just like have a Google Doc that we share, and then I'll just like add a heading. This would be much easier if you can direct.
Yeah, I mean, it's in terms of like collaborative sharing, it's like not that much different from Google Docs. Google Docs probably has like more features like comments and stuff, but this has more structures.
Would you be able to tell, like, say that like we're collaborating on something together, would you be able to tell what stuff I added? Like, does that show up?
Yeah, it will show like it will like tag the thing and say like Becca added this on January 24th.
Okay.
So yeah, I as I said, I haven't used it too much like that, but my understanding is that people do and find it useful. Especially for just like keeping track of like projects so everyone's on the same page and like if you have a meeting or something with somebody, you can just like put it in that shared notebook and then everyone like knows what you guys talked about. Like your notes are just like there. You don't have to send them an email or whatever. So actually, since you guys are asking about this, like, I think the way you do this is go to File and then Share. And then you can like share the notebook with people, or you can like share a link to a particular page that people can see or edit. You can like share it read only too. So it's like you have a lot of flexibility and you can email a page too. If you use Outlook, it will like nicely integrate with that. You can just like directly send an email from here through Outlook or like save an Outlook email directly to OneNote as a page. So that's a nice feature. Okay, so I just wanted to note a couple things like The syncing is generally automatic, but if you want to like force it to sync, you can like do that. Just like right click on the notebook. Or you can sync all the notebooks. And then also there's the search tool, which will search only within your OneNote, and you can do like find on this page, or you can search across all your notebooks. Or like you can search only within a particular section. So that's nice for like, I saved this article like 2 years ago. What is it? And you can like type some keywords and then maybe find the page where you save that. The search is not like amazing. Like it doesn't have all the like customizable like advanced search capabilities, but it works pretty well. All right, we're already 20 minutes in. So I just want to show you a couple features. So I'm gonna like in the quick notes, I just add a page, click this button.
Yeah, if you made it, that block small.
So like, to-do list. And then you can just have like bullet points, do stuff, priorities. Like numbered lists, finish my dissertation. And there's like basic formatting, like highlighting and whatnot. There's not as much formatting options as in like Word, but there's enough for most of the stuff you would want to do. And then you can like have a checklist. There's just like this checklist button. You can check them off. There's shortcuts for a lot of these, which make things simpler too. One thing I like is you can do like equations in here too. So if you use like the equation editor in Word, it's the same. Something like that. You can have like nicely formatted equations. And one of my favorite things that I use all the time is it just works as a calculator. So 2 plus 2 equals space, and then we'll calculate it for you there. And then give it like I use it for like planning like finances and stuff, and this feature is like super useful for that. And then obviously you can like copy paste whatever.
How complex is that math getting? Do you give it an integral? Can it solve it?
No, it's just like plus minus divide.
So
multiply.
basic arithmetic.
Yeah. Okay, you can like insert symbols, you can like make a table, just like all this basic stuff. One nice thing is like these are just like super basic tables, like whatever, but then you can like, can I not show this? There we go. You can convert it to an Excel spreadsheet. Which is then embedded in the OneNote file. You can do whatever you want, like and then just save it. And it will be updated in there. So that's nice. And you can like save that spreadsheet somewhere else too, just like any Excel file. Okay. So one thing I do, I'll try to wrap up the OneNote soon. But, one of my favorite things about OneNote is that you can link to other sections within sections and notes within the. So for example, like maybe okay, so I have like this to-do list for my paper. And then like I have this one item on here. I just put a link to this page where information about this to-do is. And it'll just bring me right there. I can like go back to the last page forward. And the way you do that is you just like right click on the page and do copy link to page. And then paste it and it will like give you this link. And you can link across notebooks too. And you can also do the same thing for sections. Like I want to link to this section. I just right click on it, copy link to section. So that's like one really powerful thing that if once you start using this, you realize like how much time it saves, because it's like rather than just having to remember where everything is, you can just like really quickly just like add a link and go there right away. It's kind of like if you've used like digital books on the web, it's like all the pages are like hyperlinked and it makes it really easy to like jump between topics. Okay, and then you can put like hyperlinks to URLs. You can like link to files on your computer, so it just opens it when you click on the link. Things like that. Okay, so another thing that is really useful for OneNote is you can just like use it for saving bookmarks or content on a web. There's this one web clipper like add into Chrome and Edge. They used to have a Firefox one, but they like discontinued it for some reason. So if you add this into your browser, you can like say, oh, I like this code, and then click this, and you can like save this section. There's like different ways to do it. Let's see. If I just want this, I think I right click it and do clip selection to OneNote. Like looks weird, but or I can like save this whole page by clicking article, and it will like pull out the text and images and clip that. Or I can like clip the whole page, which like tries to preserve everything in its like original state. Or I can just do a bookmark, which just gives you the link and the title. That's really nice. So I used to I like looked at various different bookmarking tools, but I've found this is like way better than any of them. Just like save the link. You can just like put as much text or as little text as you want there, and then you can find it. And so I just clip these different things. I go back to my OneNote and sync it. And it should have these. Yeah, so here's like that table. I'm guessing if I format it differently, it will look better. Here's like the article view and the another thing you can do, like especially if you have it on your phone, you can like take pictures of stuff and then just import the picture into OneNote. I do that all the time. Cause I don't like writing stuff down, so just take a picture, import it, whatever. And then I use screenshots all the time too, so instead of like clipping this selection to OneNote, you can just like take your screenshot. Just like paste it in there. Okay. So, Ryan, you're asking about like the handwriting and how you can do that and how it syncs and stuff. So I'll show you how I use this for my teaching the math class. I actually made this shared notebook, so I shared this with the whole class. And then each day I had a different page. I, at this point, had a touchscreen tablet with a pen. So I would just take handwritten notes like on there, and it would show up right away to the class when I was sharing my screen. You can use different colors and different like thicknesses of ink or whatever. There's this draw tab up at the top. It's like a lot of different options. And so I just like wrote all this stuff for 3 hours. You know what that's all about.
Yeah.
And it worked really well, I thought. And then you can easily export it. So you go over to File, Export. Then you can like export as a Word document, a PDF, or print it. You can export like a whole section or just a page. And so I'll show you like what that looks like. So I found like when I was doing it, I kept expanding the size of things as I went through the lecture. So on the bottom it was like gigantic and the top it was tiny. But you can then like resize all of that handwriting, like manual, like automatically. And so I had to do that in order to fit it on, to make it work well as a PDF, but I just exported this PDF then. And like sent it to my class for reference. Another example of the exporting, like I used to be interested in researching like childcare economics. I saved a bunch of thoughts and notes and articles and stuff about it in different pages. So it's like here, I have like 50 notes or something. I just, and then my friend Rodrigo, who's in this program, is studying healthcare economics, and we were talking about it, and I was like, I'll just like share all my notes with you. So I just exported them to this one PDF. And so it just has like everything that I ever saved in there. He was like, oh, that's great. So that's nice. And all the links will work and stuff when you export it to PDF. Okay, so what else? Oh yeah, so I haven't even like, okay, thank you. I haven't even like touched on using this for research really. So the way I use this for research, first of all, just anytime I like encounter any new information on the web or something that I think is useful, I just save it to some topical place. I mean, I don't know if that's good. I don't know if that's efficient. Maybe I'm just like wasting my time saving all this stuff to satisfy my like hoarder instincts, but I do find that like often I'll go back to like the section that I've been saving stuff. If I like, I have this difference in difference section. I gave a presentation on that last semester. So I have this notebook with research methods, and there's like a bunch of different sections. I have a diff and diff section of all these different notes. I've categorized them into like parallel trends related stuff, software related stuff, stuff about continuous treatment. So I like went back to these notes and like pulled a lot of material from here to make that presentation. Otherwise, I would have had to like kind of do it all from scratch. So that was super helpful. And I have like different sections of my OneNote are like more or less organized. Like this one's pretty well organized because I organized it in preparation for that presentation, but then there's other stuff where it's just like I just like throw a bunch of stuff in here. Like I have this data visualization section. I don't like do data visualization that much, but when I do, I like want to know about the resources. So I just go here. Did I look at something like this before? Oh yeah, there's some nice software. Okay. So I find in terms of research projects, I showed you this a little bit, like I just have this general section with like to-dos and comments and stuff. Like I'll have a literature review section where I like save links and like notes about papers that I've read. I'll like screenshot stuff from the papers, like some table, and just paste it in here and then like write my thoughts about it. So it's just a really nice way of keeping everything you do in one place. And when I'm doing analysis, I will like make some graph in Stata or something and just like screenshot it, usually paste it in here, write my notes, do different varieties. Usually this is like interactive work. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do next, whatever. I'm not going to like save all these different graphs and stuff, but I do want some record of like what I've done. So I understand I can go back and like remember the process that I used to like settle on some model. So that's like if you're submitting a paper and somebody asks for some robustness check or something, and you like kind of looked at it before, you can like go back here and say like, oh yeah, like I did look at that. It's not a big deal. And then like show them. So I guess those are the main things that I use OneNote for research for. Oh yeah, so a lot of it is like saving papers, saving notes in papers, like saving useful pieces of code. Like you might have some code to create some nice graph or something. And you can just like save it in there and you have all your like bits of code in one place. You can look at them instead of like trying to search like where was that project, like what file did I write that one piece of code in, whatever. Okay, I'm going to move on now. I'm more than half done. but any other questions or comments? So I know there's at least one other program called Evernote that's like popular. It's pretty similar in a lot of ways. It's different features or whatever, but same idea. I'm sure there's other ones too. I think the iOS Notes app is becoming more fully featured, kind of like this too. Okay. That's one note. Now 2 of 3. I'll rush through this. There's not a whole lot to know for the second one, which is Anki. Anki, ANKI is how it's spelled. It's just this like pretty simple program for making flashcards. I found it super useful. If you've ever used flashcards for studying, you know that they're really useful for memorizing stuff. But Anki is like supercharged flashcards that are like way better than. So here's the basic program on the PC, and there's mobile versions as well, which are really useful for studying, like wherever you are. If you're on the bus or something, you can just like pull it up and like study 10 flashcards or something. So in Anki, you have different decks. Mine are usually organized by topic. And so, like I have one for economics. And within this deck, you have notes, which are like essentially in the simplest form, like a question and answer. But you can have like a question and 2 different answers, for example, that will show up in 2 different places. Okay, so I can browse my notes. This is called like the card browser. And I have all these different notes that I've saved. Like, here's an example card. This thing is called close deletion. Consider a blank production function, then these following properties are true. And then you have to fill in the blank. And it will show you the answer. Strictly monotonic. Okay. And then you select how easy it was basically for you to answer it. So let's look at something here. So here's a card. Why is this thing equal to this intuitively? I don't even have a good answer. I have this gigantic answer. But okay. So here I had derived a formula for integration by parts. I think I did this like when I was doing that math review class. So I like write the steps on here, and then if it was like easy for me, I can click easy, and then that will set the timing for when I next see it. So there's this algorithm they use that which can be customized to some extent. You can see here it says 2 days. So if I click easy, I'll see this in 2 days. If I keep clicking easy, it'll eventually be like 6 months from now, you'll see this again.
So I get that you can use this for yourself, for your studying, but from a teaching perspective, can you create flashcards on topics and then distribute them to students and like have them do this as an assignment on a weekly basis and get feedback on, say, what are they struggling on? What in class do I need to work on? is that a component that Anki allows for, or is that a bit out of the box?
That's an interesting idea. It's not built in, but there are some features that you could use to do that. So you can create a shared deck. Other people can download all your cards and use them, and I'll show you that in a second. I don't think there's any automated way of like tracking people's progress or anything.
So you could share it as helping them learn, but there's no way for you as the instructor to view who's struggling.
What you can do is like, okay, so I go back to my decks. And if I right click on one of them, no. What's it? Oh, yeah. So I click stats up here in this menu. This will show like over the last month or 3 months or year, how many I've done. I have not studied this in a long time, but I did about a year ago. So we'll show you like how many cards you studied, which ones are new versus like older, and then you can see like the answers that they put. So like easy, so like easy, medium, hard, or wrong. So you could have the students like screenshot their stat screen or something and send it to you if you want to track their progress.
So say you don't even want to do that, like you make the shared deck and you can get into stats on, say, the answer button, you have these different categories. In the categories like the green or mature, you know which questions are in the green, right? Like if you went into that column, you would know which questions are the mature questions that they're doing well at. And you can do it at an aggregate level, or is this?
No, so the learning young mature is based on like when that individual started studying it and like their history with it.
Yeah,
So
so
it's
if
not
I'm
the same for everyone.
If I'm understanding it right, like the mature ones are those that are the oldest, and the green means you're doing really well at. So you're doing well at things that you've had a lot of time to study for. So in this component, like in answer buttons, can you see what are those questions that are mature and are being done well?
Maybe. Let me see.
Like, does that just come out of like a spreadsheet or something?
Okay, so if you go to this browser, you can go like filter on lots of different things. Like one of them is tags.
Mhm.
You can add tags. So one of them is card state. So like new cards are ones that you haven't studied yet. Learning are ones that you've started studying but have like not had some threshold. And then there's review ones. I'm not sure what I don't think you can
So on each one of those
see
questions, do
mature.
they give you like a stat of like, you saw this card 5 times and you got it
Oh.
like 3 times?
Yes, so if you go to a particular card, you can like, let's see. You can see. Oh, info. So you can see like all the different times you reviewed it, what you pushed, etc. So on a card level, it does have all that information set up, but it's not like made for sharing.
It's made for you. Got it. Understood.
But I mean, Google it. Maybe people have like people can write add-ins for this to like extend the functionality. It's possible that someone's written an add-in like that. Okay, so I only have 15 minutes. I'm not going to talk much more about this, but basically Anki, the core is it's a spaced repetition thing. So depending on how easy or hard the card is, it will set the length of time that you see it next. So it's meant to save your time and optimize like memory. It's based on psychological research on memory or something. And it works really well. And you can customize the cards, like that card I showed you had this like blanked out word. So you can do that. You can have like multiple different blanks on the same card. You can just have a question and then an answer. And lots of other different options. And then you can like, I showed you those math ones. If you use LaTeX, it's basically the same syntax. It's called math jacks. But so you start your math with a backslash square bracket, and then you just use like LaTeX. Code. So it shows up like this. So it's really nice for studying like technical subjects. And then yeah, there's a ton to this. So if you're interested in it, there's a lot of resources out there, and I'm happy to talk about it too. Just in terms of like this is obviously useful for classes, you know, but I've also found it useful for like there's a presentation or there's like specific facts I want to make sure I know, then I could like add a few cards and study them. Or like I used to work at this labor market information office at the state of Minnesota. I like memorized the standard occupational classification 23 codes because they're just like I was using them constantly in my data analysis, and just like having them in my brain just saved me a lot of time. Just like anything where knowing something is helpful, this is like really good. Not gonna be able to do much on this Stata thing, estout, but that's all I'm going to do for Anki. But the third software is this user written program, estout in Stata. It's just something that I recently found, and I found it really useful and helpful because it's a program that like outputs tables basically from Stata into Word or Excel or LaTeX. But it's very customizable. It's unlike other common programs for this, like Outreg or Outreg 2. It has a lot more functionality for like formatting different types of tables. It's not just like a column with different regression coefficients and the next column with different regression coefficients. You can add other statistics, the mean of a subgroup, or like p-values, whatever, pretty easily. And yeah, so it's really nice, especially for combining like statistics from different types of estimation commands and formatting stuff in unusual ways. So I'll just show you a couple examples. So this, unfortunately, I don't have a great like, code for, but like this is what motivated me to learn this. So I have this like output table from this field experiment that I'm writing a paper on. And so you have a control group and a treatment group. So I just wanted to look at the mean of the control. The treatment effect with standard errors and stars. This minimum detectable effect. Percentage of minimum detectable effect over the mean. And the p-value of this treatment. So like that's all kind of basic stuff to calculate. But I ended up having to like compile this using like several different commands in Stata and then manually put it into Excel and then like make this table. And then if I want to add a variable or want to like update the results or something, do all of it again, which is this big process. But like with estout, you can definitely automate creating this table where you just push the button and recreate it. It's not like super easy to do, but you can do it. And I'm actually still working on doing this in estout. If you're interested, I can like send you the code when I figure it out. But I do have another code that I can show you. So this is, I sent this out in the email actually. So this just creates a balance test table. So it has one row per variable, because I'm looking at a bunch of different variables, which is common in RCTs especially, or some kind of policy experiment. But the existing like exporting commands don't really work that well. They don't want you to have one row for each outcome variable. They want you to have one row per explanatory variable. So I wrote this code based on estout and got a nice table. So basically, in this one, I run this regression, an AREG regression, and then put the coefficients and standard errors and p-values in a matrix. And then I run a mean command to get the control mean. I do another mean command to get the treatment mean. I store those in a matrix for each variable. I put them all in a matrix. And then I use this est tab, which is a variant of estout. It's sort of like a easier to use variant of estout. Estout is under it. And it lets me like format all the different cells, whatever way I want. I can transpose the matrix to have the rows or the columns in whatever way I want. I can label it. I can immediately output it to Word or Excel or LaTeX. Label the columns. And so if I run this, so these are all the like different regressions I had to run. And if I had to copy and paste these, it would be total pain every time I have to do it. But I run this stab command, gives me a little link to where it's saved. And then like, this is the table that comes out. Looks really nice.
So if I'm running a regression, say I've got a bunch of fixed effects in it, and I really don't want to report all of the stupid fixed effects rows, and I've spent hours of my life Xing out fixed effects rows. I can use this to not do that.
Yeah, actually, there's like super simple options. You can like option for keeping only a subset of variables
Yeah.
or for dropping a subset of variables.
Very
You
cool.
should also only use it in.
Yeah. In this case, it was more for error.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Mina online wanted to know if you could share the code with people so that she could have.
Yep, absolutely. So I'll share that afterward. Okay.
You have two agreements.
So I just wanted to say, as I was like preparing this, I did prepare a bit more for estout, but kind of rushed at the end. But I came across the built-in Stata commands, which were introduced in Stata 17. One is called collect, and then they updated the table command. Those seem to have pretty much the same or more functionality than this estout, and they're built into Stata. So if you have a newer version of Stata, I would definitely recommend looking into those. I think estout is still great. I mean, there's a lot you can do with it, but from the little bit that I was reading, it really seems like these new built-in table exporting commands are really good in the new Stata. So I'd recommend looking at that too. And then I'll just show you this. This is the stab or estout, and stab have like a whole website. It's a lot more than just a Stata help file. They have like pages of how to use each of these commands within that are all related: stab, estout,estadd, estpost, and examples of how to do specific things. So it's like a lot of resources for you to get started. I guess I'll just say, yeah, so estout is like the core command. It's like all the options and customization are there. Stab is like a simpler syntax. You don't have to specify as many things, but it's not as flexible. And then these other ones, estow, estadd, estpost, these are for essentially, okay, so to use estout or estab, you need to have all your estimates. You have to have all the numbers that you want to report stored as an estimate in Stata. So like if you do a command, an estimation command, and then you do return list, shows you all the scalars, macros, and matrices that are stored. So you can like use estout with any of these, but there's a lot of commands that are not estimation commands, so they don't have estimation results. This is like the summary statistics, like summarize or codebook or whatever. So these other commands, estow, estadd, estpost, those are for essentially taking these output from these commands that don't normally create estimation results and turning them into estimation results so that you can use them in estimate. So I'm out of time. Thank you all. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll share the codes afterward.